So if we're coming up against a team that's like, yeah, okay, we're gonna bring our A game. What does that pretend for the offense, a one-dimensional offense, right? So those are some initial thoughts that are in my mind, but what are you thinking, Miss Rachel?
I'm thinking Willie's here because we're going to address that Michigan cheating. That we're definitely got to talk about his school cheating. But I'm in agreement with you as well. Ohio State came out ready. They have a commitment to passing and they trust Kyle McCord with that. I don't think he was ever in danger of being picked off. I don't think. He did thread the needle at sometimes. Marvin Harrison is a beast, so I believe he's going to go top three in the NFL draft. If not, the number one draft pick. It can be done because he can dramatically change a team, and he was his go-to weapon. So one of the things is I think he hit Ohio State record with like I can't remember how many consecutive games it was in the yardage. So he surpassed David Boston with that, which is pretty cool. But, Ohio State should have beat by more and they controlled the game and their defense was phenomenal because they only converted one third down the entire game and that was on the last series. So looks like the Silver Bullets defense is back, but, you paid a lot of money to get a better defensive coordinator in there. So I'm excited for the next matchups that we have. Camp Randall can kind of be a difficult place for us to play, at times, but I think that they'll be able to dispatch Wisconsin. What's up, Willie? How you doing, sir?
Yo, what's good?
Nothing. Me and Sapphire here. Brandy should be joining us shortly.
What's up, Sapphire?
I'm doing good. You and I are probably going to sound the same way when we get into this topic about Michigan's, alleged cheating. Well, you may be surprised by what comes out of my mouth.
Nothing surprises me anymore about anything. That's just.
And I wanted to go back before we go on. Harrison finished Saturday's win with 11 catches for 162 yards and a touchdown. That is Harrison's single game best for catches, while his career high mark for receiving yards, 185.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Can you look up the consecutive record too for me compared to other Ohio State receivers? Willie, did you get a chance to catch the Ohio State Penn State game?
I got a chance to catch a little bit of the highlights, but I was out all day on Saturday until about 6:00 that night.
Okay. So what did you think based on some of the highlights that you watched over the game? Because it was a highly touted game, 3 versus 7. Everybody was talking about Penn State, had the possibility to come in and upset Ohio State, but that didn't happen. And Ohio State, came out the gate. So what are some of your observations based on the highlights that you watched?
Well, I think we need to take away from the fact that this Ohio State team may not be nearly as explosive as what we've seen in the past. That is the thing that jumps off the tape for me. And I don't know if it's because of the quarterback. I don't know if it's because of the skill player talent level has diminished, or a combination of both, or maybe Ryan Day's play calling or whatnot. But for whatever reason, this just does not seem like Ohio State is not blowing people out like you guys are used to them doing. Other than the Akrons and the what's the other one? Toledo's and the Abercrombie and Fitch schools like that.
The MAC schools.
Yeah. So the Ambertons of the world. Does Edmonton have a football team? Okay, that might be taking a little bit too far. But that's the thing. Penn State seemed to be a very formidable opponent going into this contest. I mean, obviously they were ranked 7th in the country. They have one of the better QBs out there as well. I think for Ohio State fans, it's like a sense of relief that I feel like I'm getting, that you guys are winning these games.
I would say that's kind of accurate.
But at the same time, how are you really feeling when you have to go up north in a few weeks and play that team with the yellow Wolverine on the side of his helmet? Because and I'm not saying this as a Michigan homer. I'm saying this to try to answer the question, because in that game, they're going to have to score some points.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have to score some points when they play Blake Corum and JJ McCarthy and the rest of those boys up there in Ann Arbor. And, Penn State, I mean, they came in ranked number 7. But Ohio State handled their business. They haven't been handling their business all year, to the tune of look at the Notre Dame game. I mean, they played bad really for 3/4 of the game until that last drive. And even that drive started out shaky. They got the 2 best receivers in the country, I believe. But their quarterback, he's not Dwayne Haskins, rest his soul. He's not Troy Smith. He's not CJ Stroud. He's not even Joe Burrow when Joe Burrow was there. So I think that may have something to do with it as well. But they're gonna have to. I mean, they look kind of ugly when they win.
Mm-hmm. Sapphire.
No, I totally agree with what he's saying. I mean, I think it has a lot to do with how one-dimensional their offense is,
Mm-hmm.
and it puts a lot of pressure on Kyle. And I'll tell you, I'm concerned because we're playing that game at Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
It could be lost in that first quarter. Would you not agree, Will?
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, I'm not going to disrespect Ohio State like that because it is a rivalry game. They are the number 3 team in the country, but if you put these 2 teams together right now and just look at how they are both playing, it would feel like to me that Michigan is number 2, but but Ohio State feels like a number. Okay, let me put it to you this way: in Texas, we have high school classes, 1A, 2A, 3A, all the way up to 6A. But when you get to 6A, there's 2 divisions. There's Division 1, which are the larger 6A schools, and then you have the Division 2, which are the smaller 6A schools. To me, it kind of feels like, from what I've seen this year, that Ohio State is a 6A team, but they will be like a Division 2 6A team, and Michigan is a Division 6 or is a Class 6 Division 1 team. That's the best way I can analogize that in terms of comparatively speaking between both schools. Now, we do know that it's the big game and it's one of the top 3 rivalries in all of sports. And both teams are always going to play above their capability when it comes to this. But if Michigan plays above their capability and Ohio State plays above their capability, I like Michigan's higher capability than I like Ohio State's capability. And that's not me being a homer. That's just from what I've seen from what little bit I've seen of both teams.
They're going to be chomping at the bit to try to beat us, 3 times in a row because, the past 20 years, they've only won like 2 games.
Get it
so,
in, Rachel. Get it in.
I'm not even trying to be funny acting either though, Sapphire. I'm just speaking facts. So, they're going to be chomping at the bit to be able to beat us 3 times. But the crazy possibility is we could lose to Michigan and still make the playoffs because you lost to the number 2 team in the country. So we possibly still might be able to make the playoffs.
No.
We did last year?
No. But, okay, last year you had CJ Stroud and y'all were blowing people out. They're not going to put a 1-loss team that did not win their championship, their conference championship, with the way that they have played all year and as suspect that they have looked all year. They're not going to put that team in the – that team will not be considered one of the best 4 teams in the nation. I'm sorry. It just won't happen. Now, if Michigan loses to Ohio State, you could probably make more of a case for that than you can for the other way around. Don't get mad. I'm spitting facts. And I'm not trying to troll you guys, I promise. But this is just what I've seen.
I ain't mad.
Yeah, I'm not mad either. And I think too, when you look at Michigan's schedule, I would be, as a Wolverines fan, a little more concerned about my next few games. You're away at Penn State, I believe. Is that right, Willie? And also Maryland. Those are going to be tough games.
I think they'll easily be able to dispatch Maryland, though.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about Maryland, but Penn State, I mean, coming off Well, I don't know if Penn State is playing this week. I can't see this. I don't see them on the schedule. But I don't think that. So they're going to be on a bye when Michigan comes in.
Yeah, Penn State is playing home against Indiana on Saturday.
Okay. So
when do they play Michigan?
They're playing Michigan November 11th at home.
Okay.
Week 11.
Yeah, November 11th. Is that week 11? Is that how you do it?
Yeah. Yeah. Week 11.
Yeah, Willie, what do you think about Ohio State holding them to one made first down at the last drive that Penn State had? I'm not first, but they completely eliminated third down for the team. So they had no third down. They did not convert any third downs until the final drive of the game.
I mean, that's big. I mean, that's where defenses and defensive coordinators, that's where they make the money. And somebody needs to tell the defensive coordinator for the Raiders to learn how to do that, because the Raiders are absolutely terrible on third down, allowing third down conversions. But that's where they make their money. And if you can get off the field, and this is another thing too. Imagine if this Ohio State Buckeyes defense was coupled with the Ohio State offenses that we've seen the last couple years. Those games would have been more one-sided than what we already saw from those other teams. And Ohio State probably would have won the national championship one of those years. Very easily could have. So that's even another thing too, is that we're seeing more reliance on the defensive side of the ball with this squad than we have since the days of who?
Tressel?
Yeah.
I mean, the silver bullets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Laurinaitis and all. No, the Laurinaitis and all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got to go ahead and take a break. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We'll be right back.
So are you looking for receiving yards?
They said he set a record. He surpassed, I believe, David Boston for most consecutive 100 yards receiving games or something like that. Oh, this is a short break.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle with Rachel Hill, the First Lady.
All right, welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. Show up and show out to the biggest party in the city on Saturday, November 18th. WOVU and 95.9 FM. Our voices united right here at 7201 Kinsman, 1 through 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. We're celebrating 5 years on the airways and giving away 500 turkeys with the fixings and a few Cornish hens. Saturday, November 18th at 7201 Kinsman, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Be there and help us celebrate 5 years. Don't miss out on that. And also remember, you can keep it locked here on your regular radio dial at WOVU 95.9 FM. You can listen online at WOVU.org. You can also download that OVU app so you can listen to us on the go. It's one of my favorite things to do. And then also you can contact us at 216-271-0959. I am here with Willie Epteen Jr. and Sapphire, and we just talked a little bit of Ohio State, but we got to get into a little basketball because the season starts tonight. I believe one of the highlighted games is the Denver Nuggets versus Willie's LA Lakers, and I believe Willie's LA Lakers will go down tonight. His Lakers will go down tonight against the world champions.
Why you say it like that?
I didn't say it like anything. Don't be mad.
You said you kind of dropped the mic. I mean, were you going to ask me a question? Were you going to say something else? I mean, what gives?
That was more of a statement, I guess.
I know. So
a closed-ended statement.
A closed-ended statement.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me just interject myself into this, okay?
Okay.
The Lakers, as we know, got swept by the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals last year. A lot of that has to do with the fact that Anthony Davis was only good in even numbered games all throughout the playoffs last year. The Lakers made a lot of magnificent offseason moves and got a lot deeper, got a lot more depth, got younger, and even a little bit more athletic. Denver, not to disrespect Denver in any kind of way whatsoever. However, Denver kind of had one of the easiest roads out of the West and all the way to the title of any champion out of that conference probably in a while. And the reason why I say that is because, they played a shorthanded Phoenix Suns team in the conference semifinals. And look, just to give them their due, we all know that Nikola Jokic is that dude. We know that.
Yeah.
Two MVPs out of the last 3 years and very easily could have been 3 in a row. Here's my concern about the Lakers going forward. And it of course is Anthony Davis. There seems to be a running bet going on that he's going to play he's going to play only about 60 games this year.
Yep.
And that is not going to get it done. LeBron James is 417 years old. And this dude
Sorry, Willie, that was pretty funny.
That was great.
this dude is 607 years old, right? So you can't have LeBron James carrying the load, waiting for Anthony Davis to somehow, some way play 75 games or more. Look, and I'm hoping and praying that, and I don't pay any attention to the preseason. I have not watched one preseason game all preseason, nor I don't even watch NFL preseason anymore. It's a joke. But what I'm saying is this, is that the Lakers are probably in the best position, or in their best position, to bring home title number 18, more so since the bubble itself. And that's a strong statement because the West, as we know, is wild. The Suns are going to be dope. The Warriors are going to be dope. The Clippers are going to be dope. Watch out for Sacramento. They got some experience last year. And then there's always a sleeper team that we don't even think is going to be there that's going to make some noise.
So tonight is starting NBA. So tomorrow night the Cavs play the Nets on the road, and then Friday they have their home opener against the OKC Thunder. So Sapphire, what are your thoughts about Donovan Mitchell passing on signing an extension a few days ago?
I mean, I think it's not even the proper decision, but why should he sign the extension? Right?
Mm-hmm.
We're watching sports. This is a different era. There's just as much of an investment from the athlete's perspective. And, I know this may sound weird. Put salary aside. We ask a lot of these athletes, right? So if I'm a player, I'm looking at what are the tools that my GM is putting around me to achieve my goals.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I think him not signing really keeps everybody at the table. Right? I think it results in a commitment to whatever the thing is, that it's going to be the thing and it's not going to change. And you're not just, signing up players to fill seats in your arena. The goal is to win. And I think that's what Spida is all about. And I have no issue at all. I'm not reading into it. Like, the Cavaliers organization needs and will do what they need to do to bring back a winning environment to the city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he kind of alluded to, even on Cavs Media Day, that he wasn't going to sign extension and, kind of wait to the end of the season.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that, Willie?
I absolutely agree with Sapphire, because why would he tie himself to an organization that has not won anything since LeBron was there? And what kind of commitment has he even seen from the Cavs brass that they're even willing to do that? And it's already hard enough because no shade on Cleveland. but it's Cleveland, and it's not New York, or it's not LA, or it's not Miami, or it's not Phoenix, or it's not Philly or Boston, the bigger markets where a person or a player can take advantage of off the court type stuff. Now, with that being said, that's not in any control of his, but the Cavs have to do something more, just like what we saw Giannis do. He signed his extension yesterday, 3 years, 180 million, because they got Damian Lillard there.
Right.
And that's what he told them he needed them to do in order for him to sign the extension. But so what would be the Cavs' best course of action to get somebody in there to couple with Donovan Mitchell? What will be he's not going to wait around for somebody to come in the draft. I mean, free agency is going to be a difficult thing to sell. I mean, what would they have to do? They would have to trade some assets, right?
Mm-hmm.
What assets would they have to trade? I mean, and then on top of that, we have more players in the National Basketball Association that have no trade clauses than any other sport in America.
And I think for the same reason, it relates to the same reason why Spider's not even thinking about signing. That's important. That no trade is important. Just because these men make billions of dollars a year doesn't mean they don't want to win. And when you look at the impact an organization can have on a future player, I take you right back to Spider. He grew up watching LeBron, right?
Mm-hmm.
When he got to the city, I signed with a new team, but it was about remembering LeBron repped the city of Cleveland. That still means something,
Mm-hmm.
but like Willie said, the organization has to show their commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And I apologize, Jerry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. That's okay. Really quickly, moving on, because we're going to have Irie here at 6:30. Really quickly, just talk about the baseball playoffs really quickly. So the Texas Rangers have made the World Series, and we are waiting tonight at 8:07 p.m. to see who's going to be joining us, whether it's Philly or whether or not it's the Arizona Diamondbacks. Willie, I'll take you first. What are your thoughts about who's going to win tonight, and who do you see possibly winning the World Series?
I like Philly. I like Philly's experience. They're at home. When they lost to the Diamondbacks last night, that was the first loss that they've had in the postseason all year. They've got Zach Wheeler on the bump tonight against the rookie. I think his last name is Fadt, F-A-A-D-T, who in Game 5, I believe it was, or maybe in Game 4 out in Phoenix. I mean, he was dominating. I mean, he had like 9 strikeouts, and then Torey Lovullo took him out in the 6th inning for whatever reason. And it almost come back to bite him. I think the bats from Philly are going to get going. I think Zach Wheeler is going to be on point tonight, and then they're going to ride off and face the Rangers in the World Series. Now, can I talk about the Rangers real quick, please?
Yeah, we got like 3 minutes.
Oh, 3 minutes? Okay. So, as you guys know, I am down here in Rangers territory.
Yeah,
and
Oakland is your team.
Yeah, Oakland is my team. However, I have a personal tie to the Texas Rangers. And I actually texted them on yesterday morning and said, go kill the Astros, because we all hate the Astros, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the hitting coach, Donnie Ecker. He's been on the show a couple times. And what he has done with that offense is nothing short of astounding. I mean, he is going to be in line for a managerial position one day soon, I hope for him. And the reason is because the Rangers lost 102 games just 2 years ago. All right. Last year, they finished in 4th place, right above the Oakland A's. This year, they should have won the AL West due to some bullpen issues down the stretch. However, one thing that they had was one of the more prolific offenses in all of the majors. And they had more 10 or more run wins than any other team in the majors. And I give that dude the credit, because when you look at Garcia, when you look at Murphy, the kid, I can't think of his last name. Evan is his first name. When you think about Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, and all of the rest of those dudes, man, that can mash, it's going to be a dope series no matter who winds up playing against them. And for people out there, and this is the reason why I troll certain fan bases, because there's certain people that are in certain fan bases that don't even like baseball, won't even watch baseball, Rachel and Sapphire, and will text me at 7 o'clock in the morning talking about my Rangers are going to the World Series. And I'm like, dude, you don't even watch baseball. You don't even like baseball. Why are you texting me? I mean, like, seriously. And and he got me heated, man, because he's a Cowboys fan. So what he's doing, y'all, is he's latching on to any team in the area that's closest to making it to a world championship. Because he exactly, and that is exactly what I told to him in the text message this morning. You are a front runner, and you ain't even a real fan. Where he said to me, well, why would I rock with them when they suck? Because you're not a real fan.
Air weather.
All right, Sapphire, your take really quickly.
Well, we know I'm totally depressed. Dusty's out, but I am a Philly girl. Lived out there from the suburb of Philly. So South Philly is going to be off the hook tonight. And to Willie's point, I mean, I am concerned about 5, but I expect the Phillies to pull it out at home. It's going to be a good game to watch.
All right, so we're going to take a break right quick, and then we're going to welcome Iree Harris in a moment. So you're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We'll be right back.
So that stat was Harrison is the first OSU receiver to have 5 career games with at least 160 receiving yards.
Okay.
David Boston had 4.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle with Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports.
Welcome back. You are listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM. This is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports, and I am here with Sapphire. I'm also here with Willie as well. And we are here with Iree Harris. And Willie, I don't think you've been here on a Tuesday. This might be your first Tuesday. Iree Harris is the Cleveland Browns beat writer for the Cleveland.com, and he covers the Browns. Hi, Iree. How you doing today, sir?
Rachel, I'm signing as well. How's everything?
Good. We got a lot to talk about.
We did. Once again, I'm more than happy to be back, and I'm still recovering from that game. But it was a win, so that's all that mattered. But please, let's get into it.
Yeah, I bet a lot of people had to take their cardiac medication after Sunday. So, Cleveland Browns, have a big win in Indy. It could have went either way. What are your overall thoughts about the game and how this team played?
Well, as I brought up prior, it goes back to that trade, which may sound a little cheesy, but I feel it's really important for this team because it's something that we haven't seen in years prior, and that is resilience. Mm-hmm. They are understanding the old adage of getting it done by any means necessary, and even if that means setting the tone when nobody else is. And that is what Myles Garrett did in the first half when he had a blocked field goal and 2 forced fumbles and 6 tackles and a couple sacks by the end of the first half. That is what happened towards within the offense when Donovan Peoples-Jones and Amari Cooper were finally involved in the offense. That's what happened on the very last play when Kareem Hunt, for the first time in a while in his career, being the guy, to point to and go to when bringing home the win, and he did that. So this team once again showed some resilience, and they've really reassured that they are about winning and anything else at that cost.
Mm-hmm, yeah. One of the things is one of the things that you alluded to was one of the things that we've seen in the past, because I don't know, if you ever watched, this team prior, but one of the things is they didn't know how to win.
Right.
And these past few games, especially the San Francisco game, which easily could have been a loss for us, but I don't believe in moral victories. It could have easily been a loss for us. And then you look at, the Indy game, how they had to pull it out because, I was watching with Sapphire and Brandy and Eddie. We were all watching together at Sapphire's house. She had a great spread for us too. We're all yelling at the TV. Why
you rubbing it in, G?
Sorry, you
Why
live in
you
Texas,
why
man.
why you rubbing it in, G?
First of all, you barbecue all the time. You put it on Facebook. We see it, and you don't offer us any. You don't ship us any. So stop. So these were games that the old Browns would have easily found a way to lose. They
Right.
wouldn't have been able to pull that drive off. We would have thrown an interception or something like that, and some things did go wrong, but we was bailed out on penalties just like we were last week. And the Cleveland Browns, they don't get those calls. Those calls don't go their way. So one of the things is when you're a bad team, you do not get the benefit of the doubt with officials. And this team is getting the benefit of the doubt. So I'm like, are we turning a corner based on the NFL's perception of us? Because the Kansas City Chiefs get those calls. The New England Patriots got those calls with Tom Brady. So we're actually getting some calls that are going in our favor. What are your thoughts about that?
Definitely were questionable moments of the game in which the flag was thrown. Now, could you argue that those were the right calls from the illegal contact on Amari Cooper, or even the holding call again on Donovan Peoples-Jones the very next time? Were those the right calls? You can argue they are, but because of the timing in the game, usually the end of the game in which more physical play is allowed, then that raises some eyebrows as to, wow, they really did call that. Okay, that's interesting. But to add on briefly as well, you are right. The old Browns would have not found a way to win a game. Even going back to last season, it always seemed that they would always expect and wait for the moment where everything hit the fan. And then they would sit and say, all right, yep, that's what was expected. They're not going for that, it seems, this year. That's really along with maybe the perception of the league within the penalties. But we have to contribute it to them really turning the tide within their team culture, because that was missing last year. There was a void in that, and now they're filling it this season.
I totally agree with you, young man. To me, that's the defense. That's the identity that this defense under Jim Schwartz has brought to this team. It's infectious. Like when I saw Miles jump over that line, I couldn't even say anything. He was so up for this game, and I think that inspired his team members as well. Listen,
Definitely.
thank you for saying that. I know, and I love you, Eddie. I know you're listening. Some people may choose to say, hey, what about those two, penalties he picked up? Listen, we know that teams are going to make adjustments, right, during the course of the season.
Not the Raiders.
There we go. Okay, plonk. But I mean, to me, this is so important. And for when I look at the offense, right, I'm still very nervous. Okay, we won the game, yes. I'm still very nervous about what the heck is going on with Deshaun. And also, Ford is going to be out a couple of weeks. Really share with us, we can transition there, what your take on the offense's performance was, Deshaun, and what the Browns' next step is going to be now that Ford is out at running back.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's definitely something that we spoke and touched on a bit last week regarding if they should play Deshaun, if they don't, how the offense should adjust. I actually had done an article about this on Friday before knowing or not if he would play, and just kind of touching on when he's not on the field and PJ Walker, the official QB2 we see now, is on. How did they adjust? And my thing was, if he were to pass, the passes respectfully to his skill set should not be anywhere further than 15 yards. 15 should be the maximum number of yards you pass at. With all due respect to him, I did not trust him within deep passes. I think we saw a little bit more of that on Sunday, but I will give him credit because his experience within him, this being his ninth start in his career, does pop out and show out in moments, as it did last week when converting the fourth down to David Bell, as it did when it came to completing those couple passes in the end of the game. I still do not, during the first 50 minutes of game time, really trust them within the deep passes. So that's within the passing sense. Everything should be short. Everything should be quick and go. You could be able to catch the defense off guard. But within that, the run game should also be very emphasized because Kareem Hunt is running through defenders like they're a little pile of kegs. Like he doesn't care he's going to power through them if necessary. I know Jerome Ford had left the game quite a bit, but we had seen how great this duo can be with Kareem going through, powering through the middle, Jerome dazzling going within the outside. I think the best way to win is to take your time. The more you run the ball, the more you wear down the defense. If they can do that, it may be ugly, but it'll be a win in the end.
Willie, did you have a question?
Yeah. Hello, Mr. Harris. My name is Willie. Nice to meet you, sir.
Hi, Willie. Call me Irie, please.
Irie. All right. Okay. I mean, this is a question for all three of you guys, actually. And for Northeast Ohio as a whole. What do y'all think Baker Mayfield is thinking right now, watching Deshaun's play in terms of y'all got rid of me for that?
Who wants to take this one first?
I'll go
Irie? Yeah,
first.
Irie, go ahead. You're our guest.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I mean, regarding what Baker is thinking, I'm sure he can't be thinking about it too much, especially when he gets that game check after every week. But that's besides that. I think he's probably thinking, well, that's kind of what happens when you go for somebody and take a chance. But at the same time, can you blame anybody for looking to pay the Houston version of Deshaun Watson, somebody that during that time, even though it was a while back, is long gone? He was considered amongst the best. He was just creaming into that top 7, top 5 rankings within his position. He was being spoken upon with, then still playing Tom Brady with Patrick Mahomes. Like he was seen like just right under those guys within his play. So I can't be mad at Andrew Berry for paying, hoping to get the version of that. You can't always predict injuries. You can't predict anything else that's come within this. I just blame that within this, there never being a dull moment with the Browns. But I'm sure he's probably laughing quite a bit, thinking that's what happens when you give me away, to take that kind of moment.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. Because I like bringing pettiness to any production that I'm on.
Yeah, see, yeah.
And if I were Baker, and even though the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 3-3, but he's not playing bad football this year. And Deshaun Watson, we got to remember, I think we need to remember that he was out of football essentially for 2 years. Okay. And I think the expectations are a little higher than they probably need to be based on the fact that he was out all that time. Now, it's not his fault that the Browns offered him a fully guaranteed deal. I mean, who's going to turn that down? But the thing is that we're not even seeing 50% of what Deshaun Watson was even close to what he was doing in Houston. And I want to know if there's any regret that you think that's creeping up in the mind of Cleveland Browns brass about not just the trade and everything that they gave up for him, but the extension of it being completely guaranteed.
Financially, yes, I would definitely think some regret is creeping in. That's why I say you can't. It's hard to predict injuries because he was just coming off in the Week 3 win over Tennessee, his best game in the orange and brown. Right, he threw nearly 300 yards. He completed 81.8% of his passes. That's the second highest in a single game in his career between Houston and now. So just within that moment versus a team that may have not been better than him on paper, you started to see him really coming in, started to see him finally build consistency that he hasn't been able to, because like you said, he's been out pretty much 2 years. And when that injury happened, then it's pretty much pushing them back to starting at square one. So yes, to answer your question, some regret I'm sure is coming in, but at the same time, it's hard to fully think about that when you see them pulling out wins like this. It's quite cardiac hits-esque, and this defense is really playing terrifically to where you're gonna think about Watson for a while, but then you're like, man, Jim Schwartz in that defense, like we could really win some games with the way they're playing. So it's all relative within your give and take. But yes, there is some regret setting in at some point, and we're all wondering, right? Because we, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Irene, why even play Deshaun? Why do you think that decision was made?
that's a very good question. Something that I've still been wondering myself. I would say it's a mixture of from the mindset of the athlete. If we all, I'm sure we all can relate. It sucks when you're out with an injury and you feel like you can play and contribute, but you're not able to be out there, and so you're just waiting for any possible first moment where you seem good to go or where they give you a little confidence in playing, and you take that. I'd say it was a mixture of that. That's why he was out taking first team reps on that Thursday and on that Friday. Personally, was seeing him throw. It was nice to see him more comfortable out there in the pocket, even though he was only throwing to his wide receiver with no defense on. He seemed more comfortable, but he wasn't ripping the ball the way we are used to seeing him do. So it was more of like a softer touch. It wasn't as underthrown as we saw on Sunday, but it was just making his way. But I'd say it was more so to build his confidence and to let him know, hey, like if you feel you're ready, all right, you missed a couple weeks. Let's get back to it. Let's start from square one. But what did we say last week when talking about this? Or at least what I had said. If they're going to play him, don't even play him the full half. Don't throw him out there for the game and expect him to do well and deliver. He historically with this team, within everything that's occurred, is not the best in being thrown out there to play. Like I said, in the 2 wins he's had this season, it's taken him the entire first half to warm up. The entire first half, heads are scratched, and we're hoping and praying that he comes out and plays like himself in the second half, which he has. But it was all within building confidence, and we saw what type of decision that was. They should have kept him out after the second series at that, because then you're just burning yourself a deeper hole that's harder to get out, and that's what we saw there.
Yeah, because one of the things I'd said last week is keep him out for 6 weeks. He wasn't ready,
Yep.
and you could
Yeah.
tell. And him going in after a couple plays and getting injured again, wasn't good for business. And I'm still sticking with that. And I can't believe they brought him in. And Kevin Stefanski is talking about starting him next week as well against
Yeah.
Seattle Seahawks. And I struggle with that. I feel like he needs to sit out another 2 weeks, and he shouldn't have came back on Sunday. What are your thoughts?
I agree. I was honestly thinking from within the bye week, like after and understanding the injury that he had within the shoulder, understanding how long it would usually take for this to heal. And my personal, I was thinking sit him out until they play Arizona, because respectfully to their NFL opponents on the schedule, and I know it was a close game, but opponents week 7 and week 9, Indianapolis, Seattle, Arizona. The Browns are, even without Watson, are better than on paper. He is not desperately needed when playing those teams. They can find a way and still roughly win without him on the field. It's more so for after, when they're playing the divisional opponents, that he has to be ready and healthy 100% to play against. Because then after Arizona, you have Baltimore. And then right after that, you have Pittsburgh. And then you have all these further give me win games that he has to be ready to play. Especially if you're looking to make a playoff run, you want to build consistency within the second half of the season. So there's no need to play him this early and rush into it towards the end of the first half of the season. So I'm with you on that. I was thinking to set him out. Don't let him play the rest of the month. But they thought differently, and now we see where hopefully it's not a much serious injury, God forbid.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you look at the hit that he took and how his body just went limp, it harkened back to Tua. Like his whole body, you could tell he was concussed, right? So now I got to think about that. Now I got to think about a potential brain injury, right? It just didn't make sense to me why they made that decision, for the very reasons both of you so eloquently just shared.
Yeah, it doesn't. It still doesn't. He wasn't ready. I mean, we all saw. We all saw the same. We all saw the same game. He was not ready. He was not comfortable in the pocket. Every single pass was underthrown. Every pass was visibly targeted. Like when watching the replay, the coach secondary players didn't even have to do much. They could they literally just had to watch like a hawk and be able to cherry pick, because they literally saw before he threw for 2 seconds where he was looking to aim to, and That's why they easily got that pick when that pass was started to Marquise Goodwin. When that pass to Elijah Moore was very underthrown. The guy didn't. The player, his name is kind of, I think it was Kenny Moore. He didn't have to jump up for the pass. It literally went straight to him in his hands. That was the kind of quarterback that they were sitting out there. And yeah, once he was sitting on the ground, I'm sure we all held our breath because we're thinking this is why you should have never played him. But you know what? That's going to be their decision to have to face. That's their sin to have to take up with themselves. When they look in the mirror, they're going to have to mention to that person in the mirror, why did I bring him out there to play? Why did I approve this?
It's going to be so interesting. Do we have to cut to a break? Because I did have a follow-up question.
No, we're going to go straight to.
I love to see the two-back set, Irie. I love to see. That took me back to my childhood. We had a nice, voluptuous Nick Harris up in there. And just even look at the TD run by Kareem. Like, why aren't we seeing more of
that? I wish I could tell you. I still wish for this, and I even said this too when it came to the running game. I said this isn't the same chant from last season when saying and writing and chanting for Nick Chubb to grab more carries. This is a sense of a reminder of what to do when your first string quarterback is out. When you're playing with your backup, you shouldn't expect them to do first stringer things. So you should emphasize more when it comes to the run. And Kareem Hunt and Jerome Ford individually are not going to fulfill what Nick Chubb could individually do. Like I said last week, they had 131 yards on 29 carries.
Yep.
Nick Chubb could hit that same number with 11 less carries. But when you combine their talents and what they do and their style of runs, how they impact the game, they can literally fill in for what Nick Chubb did combined as one. That's why we saw that first run in the beginning for 69 yards from Ford. That's why we saw Hunt power his way for 2 touchdowns during. Like it wasn't a single. There were more interceptions thrown that game too compared to passing touchdowns, which was 0. Mm-hmm. The run is going to help them and really bail them out. Well, that and Dustin Hopkins, of course. But and just a little quick nugget as well. I was doing research earlier on this before we go to break. We say that the Browns defense could probably be the best since. And I'm just thinking out loud, exaggerating, but the 2000s Ravens defense, we're talking about the historic.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
So, right. So thinking on that. So get this. Knowing they were playing with their backup quarterback, and I want to say it was Trent Dilfer.
You're right.
Yeah. That same offense, they finished 5th that season during the 2000 season in total rushing yards. It was just under 2,200. That means they were running the ball a lot, and they also finished. I want to say it was 5th as well in carries, which was 511 carries. So for that many carries, that many yards, says they know playing with the backup to run the ball. So I don't see why the Browns shouldn't as well.
Hold up. Did y'all say the 2000 Ravens?
With Trent Dilfer went to the Super Bowl.
Which defense would you like to bring up, sir?
I love it.
Did y'all just say the 2000 Ravens?
Yeah. Wait. What other defense would you like to bring up with the backup QB playing?
Oh, with the backup QB. Okay.
Yeah,
that's different. But still, let me since y'all brought it up, let me put it this way. If we're gonna make a comparison outside of the backup quarterback, just the defenses themselves, since it was input into the sentence, the 03 Ravens. Who's y'all's Ed Reed?
Well, I don't work for the team, so it's not, I can't say it's mine. I'm outside of it, but you can think who the Ed Reed is.
I'm talking to Ray. I'm specifically talking to Rachel and Sapphire because I know you have certain commitments that you may not. You may have certain commitments that you may not be able to really delve into a question like this.
I understand.
The ones that know who I'm talking to know who I'm talking to.
I mean, for me, I'm looking at it more on a macro or global level. Like when you think about that Ravens team, they gave up only 970 rushing yards. That's 6.6 yards per game all year.
She's
right? That to me, look, I don't need an Ed Reed. I just need my performance to manage my defense to manage that side of the ball that well. And I think that's what Irie is speaking to, and with a backup quarterback.
A backup quarterback, my new favorite word.
Absolutely.
okay. So here's my next thing then. Who's your Ray Lewis?
There is no Ray Lewis. You know this, Willie.
Excuse me. Sorry. Let me
There
clear my
is no
throat.
comparison then, because you can't input some things and then not input others. And I don't mean I'm talking in terms of I will tell you this. I think Myles Garrett is a phenomenal player, impactful. He should be getting votes for MVP. But we know that's a quarterback award. What I'm saying is this: is that when we make comparisons to current defenses, to historical all-time great defenses, I'm going to be that guy that's going to say, let's pick apart this level, and then this level, and then this level, and then tell me where they compare. And there's no comparison. Now, this is no trolling of the Browns defense. They are elite. And I'm glad Jim Schwartz is there because he can erase the legacy of being an 0-16 head coach in Detroit. I'm glad he's there, and I'm glad these guys are doing what they're supposed to do. And I am not in any way a Browns hater. I am a person that thrives on historical perspective, because I think I'm the oldest one on this panel. So there's things that I remember that some people may not remember. And you're right, the Ravens, that team, because oh my gosh, we get into debates about quarterbacks and who.
Yeah. Let me just share a quick stat. Sports Illustrated. Okay, did some digging around where the Browns stack up to the 76 Steelers, 85 Bears, 2000 Ravens, 13 Seahawks, and 15 Broncos defenses through 5 weeks. Okay, and I know we're a little bit longer in the game, but just through 5 weeks of their respective seasons, Cleveland has actually fared better than those legendary groups in a number of categories. And I'm talking about total yards allowed, points per game, and touchdowns allowed. We're not trying to say this defense is mirroring, right, the Ravens, but when you look at these different metrics, Willie, it bodes well.
It does bode well.
Right?
It absolutely does bode well.
With the backup quarterback, by the way.
What's that?
I was saying with the backup quarterback, yeah.
Yes.
The whole point, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Well, I was going to say we only got go ahead, Willie. You got 4 minutes left. So I got a question before I read too after you.
I was just going to ask if you're going to look at it from those perspectives, I get it. That is elite because the game is played so much more different now than it was back in even 15 when the Broncos defense was great. So with that being said, I'm giving credit where credit is due. Shout out to Jim Schwartz and the backup quarterback.
Woo!
Yeah, I mean,
on the same page.
Just to also sneak it in, the Browns are on pace to allow 3,407 yards of total defense in 2023, which would be the lowest total for a full season since the NFL switched to a 16-game schedule in 78. 200.4 yards allowed per game. I'm just saying, Willie, numbers don't lie.
All right, Irie. We only got 3 minutes left now, but trade deadline coming up. Do you see this team making a move? And if so, what moves?
The move would be offensively, because going through these great numbers defensively, I don't think there's much of a move to make. So it would really be within the wide receiver realm of adding what some have said to be an alpha dog or somebody else within that room to help out when others are not to contribute, and or within the offensive line unit. Our favorite other topic to speak about. Did we like the O-line performance? Did we like what we saw from Wells or from Bitonio in his return? By the way, did we like this? Do we feel it was average enough or adequate?
Not a Wills fan, so they can trade him. but it was better. It was better. You know, he wasn't a turnstile this
Look,
time.
I'm going to church on Sunday, and I'm praying Irie with the positive juju is going to bring us someone on the O line that's going to help our run game.
Yeah, and they got a push on Kareem Hunt in the
Yeah.
4th and 1. So, you know, they did their job on Sunday.
Which, by the way, real quick, Irie, I'm curious. I don't know if you caught the Eagles game Sunday evening, but they had this tush push formation.
I love the tush push.
Right? I like Coach Stefanski. Are you in the building? I'm just saying, like, why can't we see things like that too? Just pushing that out there too.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. Well, it is always good to have that go-to play on 4th down, and you know, I mean, right now it's going to be the run. But remember last year when they kind of did that, right, with Jacoby Brissett, with as many 4th, you know, QB sneaks that he had. It wasn't exactly a tush push, but he was the go-to player to convert them. So I wouldn't say any of their quarterbacks respectfully can do that. So that's where I say they would have to turn to Kareem Hunt to do so, because he's going to run through you with those strong, powerful calves that could probably crush a watermelon, give him the first down every time.
All right. Thank you so much, Irie, for joining us. You've been listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.